I don't think I would have gotten here in the first place if I didn't have my kind of all over the place journey. So I think I'm grateful for that in the long run.
Hi, my name is Karina McCosco from Academic Influence, and I am super excited for our guest today. I am here with Isabella LoRe, and she is going to be a senior at UNC Chapel Hill in the fall. And so I'm really excited to hear about kind of your college process and your college journey. So just starting off, to let people kind of get an idea of kind of what your thought process was going into application process, what were your top 5 universities that you were looking at, and how did you decide on UNC Chapel Hill?
That is an awesome question. I was kind of all over the place with different schools I wanted to go to because out of high school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted. So I'm actually a transfer student from my junior year. So this is my second year at UNC, and I actually had 2 years of college at Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. So I've kind of been all over the place with that. But I think when I was applying to schools, I think one of my top schools I really wanted to go to was Boston University because I love the kind of urban environment, and I was kind of excited at the idea of having a big school, but I was also intimidated by that. So I looked at a lot of smaller, more liberal arts kind of colleges and universities as well. I also looked at Smith College, obviously Mount Holyoke College, which I did end up going to for 2 years. And then I was also looking at some more lesser known universities. I was looking at, I almost went to Elon, which is also in North Carolina. So I think I was kind of all over the place with different places I was looking at because like I said, I really didn't know what I wanted, and it kind of took me going through college as a freshman and sophomore to kind of figure out what I actually needed from college. So that kind of led me to where I am now.
Wow, that is incredible. And yeah, sometimes it does just take a little trial and error because it is so hard to figure out what you want in a college and where you would best thrive. And so that's kind of what our company does, is help people find what college is best for them. And so UNC Chapel Hill is obviously not a small liberal arts college, which is initially what you thought. And so how have you transitioned? I'm not very familiar with your first college, which is Mount Holyoke, right?
Yes.
And
yes.
So how did you find the transition from what I'm assuming was a smaller liberal arts college to UNC Chapel Hill, which is a huge public university?
Yeah, I love that question so much because if you had asked me when I was a freshman in college or even a senior in high school if I would think that I would thrive or really enjoy going to a school that's like UNC, I would have said absolutely not. That's really not for me. Which I now know is completely wrong because I absolutely love it, and it's turned out to be my absolute dream school. But I think thinking about the transition, it actually was surprisingly very seamless and went really well for me, which I'm very grateful for, because when I was selecting which school to transfer to, I just knew exactly what I wanted because I had the chance to identify how my old school wasn't serving me. And so I was really specific about if I'm going to transfer, if I'm going to take this leap, I need to know that it's going to be exactly what I need and have everything that I want. And yeah, I had no idea that I wanted to go to a big sports school in the South. I'm from New England. I identify as an introvert who has always not really liked crowds or I'm not really into sports or anything. But just the academics and the social environment and physical environment at UNC is the ideal school for me. It's literally my favorite place. It's a home for me now, and I love it so much. So yeah, I would say the transition was surprisingly easy because I knew what I needed, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Wow, that is so good to hear. And I feel like your experience can give so much wisdom to other people. And so, first of all, do you wish that you would have gone to UNC straight off the bat? Or are you kind of glad that you spent 2 years kind of getting your footing, figuring out what you wanted?
Oh, that's such a good question. I actually think about this a lot because as you mentioned, like I'm going to be a senior in college this year, and I've had a lot of moments where I've honestly been really sad because, as I've said, like this is my dream school, and I've only gotten to be here for a year so far, and knowing this is my last year makes me sad because there's so much stuff I want to do. There's so many people I want to meet and experiences I want to have on campus. And I've thought about that question a lot, but honestly, I think that I never really would have ended up at UNC in the first place if I had like thought about going there out of college, like, or excuse me, out of high school. I might not have gotten in. I don't think I would even have like applied because I didn't think it was for me. So as sad as I am that I didn't have that like full 4 years that I think I really would have loved, I don't think I would have gotten here in the first place if I didn't have my kind of all over the place journey. So I think I'm grateful for that in the long run.
Yeah, no, and that definitely makes sense. I mean, it all came around, it all worked out, and it all had a purpose. And so, just walking through your transfer journey, because a lot of people talk about like how to apply to college, but I feel like it's kind of a different ballpark when you're transferring. And like you said, you were very intentional about it. So, did you only apply to UNC and you knew like this is where I want to go? Or did you apply to a bunch of universities? Or how did you go about even transferring?
Oh, I love this question as well. I love like talking about the transfer process because when I was going through it, I felt like there was nobody out there who had the same experience as me, which of course is not true. As we know, there's lots of people who have gone through the exact same journey and experience. So I remember feeling like really alone when I was going through it. So I love talking about it with people and I love making content about it because I feel like it just connects me with people who have gone through similar stuff. But I think that I definitely learned that applying out of high school is very different than like the transfer experience, from what I experienced anyway. And the big thing that I went into it with was I was kind of, as I said, like identifying how the school I was at like wasn't serving me and wasn't giving me what I needed. And I decided that the biggest thing was that they didn't offer the academics that I actually wanted. They didn't have a major that I felt like really just fit me and fit what I wanted to be learning, and they didn't have the resources to support me in that like academic venture. So right now I'm a public relations and advertising major, which is super fun. I really love it. And so when I was decided I was going to transfer, I really looked into schools that specifically had really strong media programs slash journalism because I'm actually a journalism student. Like I'm under the umbrella of journalism, which I also love. So that's really what I went into it with. So I only applied to schools that had good programs, and it just so happened that they were all kind of bigger, more like university type schools. So I applied to Boston University, UNC Chapel Hill, Syracuse, a bunch of like those bigger schools that had really like top like world renowned journalism and media programs. And it was really amazing because I spoke about my passion for that field in all my applications and everything. And I ended up getting into every school except for one, which was so cool. And that was such a great experience. And I was going to go to BU because that had been a dream school for me since high school. But the like financial package from UNC as an out of state student was so incredible. I was like, maybe I should look into this more. And the more I read about it and learned kind of like what that school environment was like, the more I fell in love with it. So that's just kind of how that happened, which, like you said, it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, yeah. And that is so good to hear. And a lot of it is like financial aid. We just talked to JC Barnes on here, and she kind of talked about her path with financial aid. And so that is so good that you can kind of speak to transfer students because, yeah, like you said, not a lot of people talk about it. And so kind of looking like at UNC directly, you talked about how seamless your transition was, which is amazing. But even for people who aren't transfer students, finding support at a larger university can be harder than at a smaller liberal arts school. So how have you kind of reached out to get like the support you need, not only in transferring, but just being a student at kind of a larger school?
Yeah, I love this because that was one of the things that kind of scared me away from bigger schools and universities because I thought that no one would really like quote care about me in terms of like the teachers and the professors and the other like resources on campus since it was so big. And I've actually found in my personal experience anyway that that was a misconception that I had because the thing that I experienced when I was at like the small liberal arts school, it was just a there aren't that many people, which obviously can be really good in some aspects, but if you have a specific problem or a specific background or experience and no one there can relate to that in order to help you through it, it can be really, really troubling and like hard to get through without that support. And then also just in terms of resources that the school had and unfortunately everything comes down to money like as you said with financial aid like that's something I've struggled with a lot. And the reason that I went to my first school was because I got almost a full package and my family needed that. So that was my experience. And obviously, not everyone can choose exactly where they want to go because of money. So I think it's very important to talk about that. But at UNC, like they have the resources, they have the departments that I needed to help me. Like they have a transfer, like counselor person who I know on a personal level who like emailed me specifically. I have my own like librarian who helps me with my research projects, which is so, so fun. So I think that at both types of schools, you can get that assistance if you need it. You can get that support. It's just a matter of going out and finding it. But for me personally, I found that at the bigger school with more resources, they had the ability and the amount of people to actually come and find me and help me before I needed to kind of panic and and find out it myself. So yeah.
Oh, that is so good to hear. And yeah, I mean, I think this perfectly emphasizes what we kind of try and put out here at Academic Influence, and that is not every school that is good for one student is going to be good for another student. And so some students may really thrive at a small liberal arts school. And for you, you seem to really thrive at a big public university. And so it all comes down to like seeing within yourself what it is that you are looking for in a college. And so thank you so much for talking with me. It has been so fun to hear about your journey and your unique experience. And I'm so glad that everything worked out. And so just last question, going into senior year, what are you going to do? Like what is on your to-do list this year?
Oh my gosh, I just want to like participate in as many like UNC traditions as possible because a lot of like schools have their own unique little things that they do and I feel like I just want to make as many memories around that as possible before I graduate. So I'm so excited.
That is so good. And I am North Carolina born and raised, so I have a lot of friends going to UNC next year, and so it is so fun. The school pride there is just incredible. And so I'm so excited to see all that you do in your last year. And yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. It was really nice to meet you.
Thank you, you too.